Dose! Just kidding, technical difficulties. Yo, Wellness Posse. Welcome to Wellness Posse Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. I've been on vacation the last few weeks. So, I got my boy, Dr. Philip Oubre. Gosh, I swear I was going to get that. And we're going to christen him the first boy on Wellness Posse Wednesday. See, I will have men on my show. I just know so many lovely women in the wellness professional that I went through them first. But I was so excited when Philip reached out to me. He does amazing Facebook and YouTube videos.
Well, thank you.
That I absolutely love. He actually brought in this very fancy setup. See how well lit we are? It's so nice. I feel very professional. But I'm so excited to have him. He's actually a functional medicine MD. So he's not just a practitioner, but he's actually a medical doctor. And he has a practice in Westlake. And we're going to kind of go into his backstory. But first, why don't you just introduce yourself to the Wellness Posse and kind of tell them what you do and who you are.
Okay, so my name's Dr. Philip Oubre. I'm from Louisiana, South Louisiana originally, and kind of traveled all over the place and ended up in Austin about 4 years ago. And I'm a regular board certified family medicine doctor that kind of slowly transitioned into functional medicine as I learned about it. And I've kind of taken the proverbial matrix pill. Once you swallow the wellness pill, you just can't go back because you see so much success. So I started my practice back in January of 2016, and we've moved into Westlake now. We've got a beautiful facility with a gym and a nutritionist and a physical therapist, and it's worked out well. We're seeing lots of people, lots of interest in it, and just seeing some amazing success. And so I'm just incredibly blessed to do what I do, and I get paid to do it. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is really awesome. Some of us are really lucky to be able to have a career in our passion, and so when I meet those other people, I'm like, good job.
Yes.
Keep fighting the fight. So that was a little bit of background. Tell me, how did you get into functional medicine, You started down the very kind of traditional Western medicine path, and I'm sure at some point you were like, this isn't really working out. So I would like to hear, we haven't had an actual medicine doctor on, a medical doctor on, so how would that transition from kind of traditional medicine to this kind of more what people think is woo-woo, which is not actually woo-woo at all, functional medicine land look like?
Good question. I would say people should get into it differently than how I got into it. I kind of stumbled across functional medicine, and luckily in Austin, we've already got a very holistic crowd. And how I kind of originally got started in it is I had patients come to me that were taking supplements and I didn't yell at them. And then all of a sudden there were other patients that started coming to see me who also took supplements. And they were excited to see me because I didn't yell at them for taking supplements for their abnormal labs and whatnot. And as I was doing it, so the practice I joined was doing a bunch of advanced lab testing, vitamin testing that I would have never done in conventional medicine. In conventional medicine, we are beat into the head about you don't order a test unless you expect it to be abnormal, and you order the cheapest test and only the minimum amount of testing that you need to get to the answer. And so as I started doing more of these advanced tests and having people come in with vague complaints like bloating or fatigue or dizziness, things that conventional medical doctors hate because you just don't have that many tools to fix those things. But as you start doing advanced labs on these people, you start identifying abnormalities, and so that's kind of how I stumbled into it. I started finding these abnormalities, treating them, people would get better, and so I was like, well, there's something to this, obviously. Yeah. And so I just kept reading, investigating, and then I started going to conferences, and once you swallow that matrix pill, you can't go back.
What was the timeline of that transition?
It took me probably overall at least a year to really transition, and even when I started my practice, I'll be honest, I really didn't fully know what I was doing as far as functional medicine. I was about 60% there, but I feel like over the past year and a half, I've definitely put together most of the story. There's always more to learn, right? Yeah. You never know it all. I never know it all. So it took about a year and a half to actually transition really into enough functional medicine where people trusted me and I felt good that I could handle any functional medicine case.
Yeah. That is one thing I do like about the functional medicine approach to health and wellness in general, is it does seem to be this kind of, I think one thing, because it's kind of newish, is that people are continually kind of learning and progressing, and they're not really stuck at, this is the answer, this is the diagnosis, this is the answer, this is the pill we give them, point blank. If you do something against that, you're wrong, which I seem to hear a little more in kind of traditional med, as opposed to like, oh, this worked for your patients. It seems like a little more open between y'all as a group. Do you feel that?
I do, and it's a lot more personalized based on your own labs and your own chemistry and how you respond. So some functional medicine docs just kind of throw the kitchen sink at people.
Yeah.
I kind of use kind of a tiered program where I see people, I go for the biggest guns first, and if they get better and they're done, then we're done. But if they're not, if they're still having that dizziness that just won't go away, then we're going to look at a little deeper. We're going to look at heavy metals, we're going to look at antioxidants, we're going to look at vitamin levels. And so there's a lot we can do in functional medicine to give people a personalized approach to get to the answer, but no two people are alike.
Yeah. So that is one thing that we've talked about in Wellness Posse, with the Wellness Posse quite a bit, is that there is no one size fits all, cure all wellness. This is what wellness life looks like.
Thank goodness. My job would be boring if everybody
gets the exact same diet, everybody gets the exact same meds, everybody's on the same supplements.
That's right.
I mean, if that was the answer,
boring. Our
lives would be super easy because we could just cookie cutter that shit right on out.
Exactly.
But none of us would want to live here.
No.
So what would you say is kind of your overall general wellness philosophy then regarding how you treat your patients and how you kind of think about it with yourself as well?
So I would say I believe that every human being possesses the ability to be well.
Yeah.
I think everyone has that. I think by the time they've come to see me, or by the time you're ill or suffering from some symptom, that system has gone way out of control and you might feel helpless, you might feel hopeless. But as long as we're accessing the right tools for the body wants to be put back together. So why without those tools, why wouldn't it just do it itself? So many times there's just something standing in our way, and many times it's ourselves, our own brain power's in the way. And so I believe if I give people the right tools, and that's nutrition, movement, stress management, hormone balance, and the right supplements, I believe anyone can restore their wellness. Now, am I going to claim that I'm going to take a 90-year-old Alzheimer's patient and make them 20 again? Of course not. I mean, we got to be a little realistic. But if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, there's no reason that you shouldn't feel as energetic as you did in your 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. You may not look like you were in your 20s and 30s, but you should feel good all your life.
Yeah, I love getting clients that are in their 30s or early 40s and being like, well, I guess I'm just old. And I was like, do you know how pissed your 80-year-old self is going to be that you called yourself old at 40? Like, don't give up.
Old is relative.
Yeah, old is relative. And the fact that we've kind of resigned ourselves to these benchmarks of this is what 40 is supposed to look and feel like. I'm not supposed to still be able to lift. I'm not really supposed to be able to be active. Things are supposed to hurt. Like I'm supposed to wake up kind of grumpy, kind of have gas. You know, all of these kind of typical middle-aged issues. Well, they're just normal, and then when you kind of explain to people that this doesn't have to be this way, they really don't believe it. Do you find that people come in with that same kind of mindset?
They do many times now. Luckily, I'm in a membership-based practice where I don't take insurance, so by the time people come to see me, they're ready and motivated, and they already have an inkling of an idea that they can change and be better. I would say in my insurance-based practice before I started my practice, it was a little bit hard of a sell. People weren't really willing to bite and really try it. And as you know, in wellness world, like you have to go all in order to really get better. Now, not all in at once. I didn't mean to say that, but you really have to do multiple components. You can't just eliminate gluten and think your life is going to be butterflies and rainbows. It just doesn't work like that.
No gluten and dairy, and then I'm good.
Just dairy. It's no big deal.
So you're really trying to, through your videos, really change and kind of elevate the conversation, what I view as elevate the conversation about what wellness means.
Absolutely.
And that wellness is not about aesthetics, and wellness really isn't about a lot of things. So what is that conversation shift that you feel needs to occur, not only with the general population, but kind of with wellness professionals? Where is that shift in conversation that maybe you see starting to happen that you would like to kind of initiate or speed up?
So I guess I'm not sure what you mean by the question. I want to see, let me answer it this way and you tell me if it's the wrong answer.
I'm sure it's the right answer.
The main reason that I'm doing the videos is I believe that people, like I said, have the tools to fix themselves. And so I believe if I can at least put some of those tools out there, then we may not be able to fix everyone through a video, but even if we change one life, I can only touch so many people in my lifetime. And I don't mean just me, I mean every functional medicine, doctor, wellness person out there. We can only touch so many people. And some people live in podunk towns and will never be able to see us. So if I can put a video out there that changes the world, sparks a fire, if you change one person in a household, then that person might change change the other people in the household. And then when that person grows up, they're going to marry someone and they're going to change their household. And it's really a fire that we can start in America to change the whole world. And if we can do it from a video that's free to watch on Facebook and YouTube, then what greater success? One of my pet peeves, and hopefully I don't irritate anyone, but one of my pet peeves with functional medicine doctors, I'm pretty opinionated, Allie, by the way.
I like it. Me too.
One of my pet peeves is these functional medicine doctors leave insurance models and then they start their cash-based practice, and then as they get busier and busier, they just charge more and more and more, and then they have these astronomical fees, so then it just becomes functional medicine is for the wealthy.
Yeah.
So one of my goals in this world, whether it happens or not, you can hold me to it, is to make functional medicine affordable. It will never be free. Anything that's free never has value, so it will never be free. But I want functional medicine to be affordable to as many people as possible. And one of the ways we do that is by getting videos and education stuff out there where you don't have to pay a dime and you get to see it.
Yeah, that is something that I've really struggled with throughout my career. Is I've always worked with very high-end clientele, and that is great for me personally because it's very good for my bank account and it's given me a very stable life, which has been very nice. But at some point, you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to people that have access to good health care. You're preaching to people that have access to good food. And we're, in my view, I'm very nervous about the fact that we're getting this big divide in the healthy and the non-healthy, and that line has a lot to do with income and educational lines. And the sad reality is the people that cannot afford it most of the times are the populations that need it the most. And so us really proliferating this information, especially into communities and neighborhoods where we can kind of start this fire. If we can get 2 or 3 people in these neighborhoods to see drastic change, if we can volunteer our services to kind of start and let them educate themselves with free information, I really do think we can kind of help to save that. So I love hearing that from you, because that is something that I've really had a passion for, that I just can't talk to rich people all the time anymore. And then them tell me how hard their lives are and that they can't be healthy.
Right.
Like, stop whining. You have a chef and a trainer and you have a nanny and you have 3 people that clean your house, but you just can't seem to find the time to work out anymore. I'm so sorry that your life is so hard.
So true. Let me take that point you were making earlier about starting the fire in this small little community. So when I was in residency, there was a group of middle school students who did a project, and they actually went around town and they went to grocery stores and they just took notes of what they saw when they first walked in the door and what was different. And so many of them had never even gone to any other grocery store besides the one that was next to their block. And then they go to a rich part of town and all of a sudden everything's different in the front. There's not Cheetos in the front and there's not things. And one of their points to their presentation was, if grocery stores put healthy food up front, our parents and our friends would be more likely to buy it. Mm-hmm. And I actually see it differently. They're putting Cheetos and soda up front because that's what people are already buying. Yeah. So if you can start a fire and you can get people to buy gluten-free items and more vegetables, and I don't mean to think gluten-free items are better, but just gluten-free in general, vegetables, meats, nuts, then the grocery store is going to listen to their income. People are buying meats, nuts, seeds, vegetables, then we're going to put meats, nuts, seeds, and vegetables in the front of the line. And so if we can start that fire, we can really change all of society. You vote every time you buy a food. That is a vote. I don't care if you get political and vote for anybody in this world. Your money talks. Wherever you spend it is where you're voting.
Yeah, and that's the same for your health care. I mean, if you commit to actually spending your dollars as opposed to paying for insurance, getting a health savings account and going to a functional medicine doctor as opposed to having a PPO or whatever you're doing and kind of going the traditional medicine route, it really will shift. We were actually just having this conversation earlier about how do you break into this kind of, White Castle of wellness, of health right now with like standard hospital care. And I was like, when you walk into them and say, I have a line of 1,000 people that are going to pay me in cash, guess what? They're going to turn around and build you a center and be like, hey, what? We don't have to deal with insurance companies anymore? Because your money talks. Yes, and why do you think Walmart is the biggest buyer of organics? It is because there actually is a large shift change happening because that is what their customers are asking for.
Because you're asking for it.
Exactly. So
keep asking.
Yeah, keep asking. Ask more stuff. So that's the kind of conversation you'd like to change with the general population, what conversation do you wish wellness professionals were having with their clients that you don't hear as much right now?
I'm going to say the same thing that we talked about before we turn on the video, which is too many functional medicine doctors are at odds, almost like competing, like, no, you're going to steal my client, or you do this and I don't do that and I disagree. There's so many different ways to skin the cat, and everyone's an individual, and I think there's so much need for functional medicine that I don't care if you've got a functional medicine doc right down the road from you, you're not competing. There's plenty of clients, there's plenty of patients out there that are starving for this type of medicine. So we should really be working together. The collaboration should be there, instead of just saying, well, I'm going to stick in my little niche and this is my niche and I'm just going to stay there and keep doing my thing over and over again.
Yeah, because as part of that conversation was 2 of the largest functional medicine doctors here in Austin, their waiting lists are literally years long if you're a new client, which basically means you can never get in. And
maybe dead by the time
yeah, and his is actually months long, because the reality is there is not enough functional medicine doctors. Just like there's not enough wellness professionals, just
Correct.
like there's not enough nutritionists, and you're not going to be the right fit for everybody.
Correct.
Explain how functional medicine works as opposed to going into a standard doctor's office, because this is the differentiation I want him to reinforce. Is it is a very personal relationship. It's a much different relationship than you would normally have with your family medicine doctor or your family doctor that you would see once or twice a year for 15 minutes. And so having that real connection, finding somebody that you connect with on an emotional level is very important, I feel, as a functional medicine doctor. But kind of explain your practice and what would the difference be if somebody walked into your office?
So when someone walks into my office, they first get an appointment with me and my nutritionist, because nutrition is key to success. So you can't eat burgers and french fries and take all the supplements in the world and expect to get better. I know. It's too bad. So actually, when patients come to see me, the first thing they do is actually they meet with a nutritionist first, who goes over the whole food plan, what are they doing, what are they eating, and tries to get as much of the history and timeline in as they can. And that's an hour and a half long visit. In conventional medicine, an hour and a half long visit is
unheard of.
You
Unless
just can't.
you're in surgery.
Yes, exactly. That's a good point. And you're asleep. So just the nutritionist visit is an hour and a half long. After they get done with that visit, then there's a separate visit. Unfortunately, I wish we could do it at the same time, but it's mental overload for people.
Yeah.
They come back and they get their labs drawn with the nutritionist, get it started, and then they come back and they see me. So once they see me, same thing. They sit down for an hour and a half. I've already got some of the notes from the nutritionist and some of the stuff that they filled out online, but I want to hear it from the patient's mouth, because the story matters. Your inflection and your tone and how you mention certain things like, oh, heartburn, that's no big deal, but my fatigue, God, that's exhausting. You can't put that on paper. You can't quantify that. You have to listen to people. And just as you mentioned, giving people hope and that emotional connection. We've done, medicine has done studies to show that just offering someone hope improves their outcomes. Even if you do the same thing, just giving people hope gives them better outcomes. So if I can just listen to you for an hour and a half and try to explain why you feel the way you do, and just tell you that you can do better, that will change your life. Even if you don't change anything else, just that will change your life. Now, we do way more than that, of course, but that's the starting blocks. And then I typically do another visit, so we do very advanced lab testing. Typically, we're doing about 8 to 10 pages of lab testing on people, and if you don't test for something, you don't know if you're missing something. There's tons of micronutrient issues that people have and don't even know they have it. Inflammation is a silent killer. It starts way ahead of time before you feel any symptoms. If you feel symptoms of inflammation, you've had it for at least 10 years. Unless you just sprained your ankle. Well, that's acute inflammation. That's different. But so really getting to know people and really understanding their intricacies of social networking and what kind of job they do, how does their life affect them, what have their hormones been like over the 10 years, and that just takes time. My short visits nowadays are 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
And one of my patients that's been with me at the insurance model one day goes, I know we have a short visit today, and I was like, you realize it's 30 minutes. Like, we never had that kind of time in conventional medicine. I know, but I'm used to this now. So I'm spoiled. I get a lot of time with my patients.
So that must make the connection, and when they actually see change, does that make that, as a practitioner, does that make that relationship much more impactful for you than it did?
That's a drug. No, impactful. Are you kidding? Like, I'm addicted to watching people get better and telling me that they get better. Not that I need that to survive or anything, and not that I did anything special, but watching someone get better from something that, for instance, we had a 40-something-year-old lady who, ever since she was a little kid, she would actually eat food and then crawl under the table and hide until her stomach pain passed. And to the day she saw me, she will still experience, she didn't crawl under tables anymore, but she still had stomach pain every time she ate. And to listen to her say, like, I don't have any more stomach pain, and I never thought that would even be a possibility. I'm addicted to that kind of feeling of just watching people get better when conventional medicine and everyone out there has failed them.
Yeah.
So yes, it's impactful.
I love that. I mean, that's like, yeah, getting those emails and texts and voicemails from clientele that, you know, bring tears to your eyes and say, I really never thought I would get to this point. And that you made a reality that I didn't see possible appear before me. I mean, you do. You kind of feel like a magician. You're
yes,
like,
absolutely.
We did it.
I did it again.
We did it together.
You did it.
Yeah, exactly. So on that point, since you love to give people tools, I like to give people kind of 2 or 3 things that you think are the most impactful things that people could do, most standard population people could do, that would have the most drastic impact on kind of improving their health and wellness.
So I'm going to use big categories so I can get away with more stuff. So I'll at least say cut the carbs. And I don't say sugar, I say carbs. Most people don't even know what a carb is. So do your research and find out what a carb is. Cut the carbs. Just cutting out the carbs. Even if you don't go gluten and dairy free, just cutting down on carbs drastically reduces inflammation. Number 2 thing, and probably this is my number 1 thing that I treat people with that have been missed by other functional medicine practitioners, is treat your adrenals. So your adrenals make cortisol, your stress hormone, and we're American. We're all stressed out to the max. And if we're not, guess what? We're going to add more onto our plate until we are stressed out to the max. And by the time you're feeling fatigued and your gut's a wreck and you've got autoimmunity, your adrenals are already fried. So I would say if you do 2 things, and of course we can't explain all that in one little video, but look up how to cut your carbs and look at how to treat your adrenals, and that will have immense success.
Have you done videos on those 2 things?
Oh, absolutely.
So we will link to the videos, and then you can just take his word for it.
You can even see me. So I did a video when I kind of hit my brink of adrenal exhaustion when I was getting my practice into Westlake, and we had a lot of moving parts and a lot going on in my life. And I repeated my labs, and I had drastic changes, and I decided it was time. It's a bad video. I'm wearing a bandana. It was after a workout, and I just had to get the video out there. So just be glad you couldn't smell me.
Well, that goes perfectly into kind of my next question, which is I really like to kind of knock wellness professionals off the pedestal. I think we put ourselves on a pedestal.
Absolutely.
I think our clients put us on a pedestal of this, like, you must be perfectly healthy since you're this health professional. And because of that, a lot of people, if at times when we're struggling, feel ashamed to actually share that with people, even those closest to us, because they feel like then, you know, the fraud voice comes out and be like, oh, everybody's going to call me on my bullshit because obviously I can't take my own advice. So can you kind of share, and it can be that story or another story, where you kind of had kind of fallen out of your routine or practice or kind of got out of alignment, and then how did you kind of get yourself back together? Because everybody at one point or another gets off track.
Absolutely.
It's just normal life, and the whole goal is, this is like an 80-year process, so like it's the long game.
Yeah.
Like the longest game you have.
That's right.
Which is your whole life. So like how, when you kind of get back on track, do you find it easy to kind of get, you know, back in alignment?
So I would say you're absolutely right. Everybody falls off the wagon, and I've definitely done my fair share of falling off wagons. Now, luckily, as you've probably experienced, the healthier you get and the more well you get, you actually become pretty resilient, and you can then torture your body a good bit before you really get to symptoms again. And so I'd say the best way that I've learned to stay in touch with when I'm really falling off the wagon and not really noticing it is just listening to your body. When I first started getting into functional medicine, just to share a little bit of my own story, I had chronic nasal allergies for 5 years that had started during residency, and I was addicted to Flonase and sinus rinses and stuff, and I couldn't breathe without them. And so as I started getting into functional medicine, I realized that I could reverse that and make it go away. Why wouldn't I have done that 5 years ago if someone had told me? So once I reversed that, so my 3 issues were nasal allergies, right shoulder pain from an old tennis injury showing off, and I injured my right shoulder, and I thought I was just going to live with that the rest of my life, right? Aches and pains of a middle-aged person. and I had kind of IBS issues that I'll spare you the details for. But as I got into functional medicine, all those symptoms went away completely and have never come back unless I start falling off the wagon. When I start falling off the wagon, I don't get terrible allergies and raging shoulder pain, but it's that hint. It's that like, oh,
hey,
I blew my nose a lot today, or ooh, that kind of twinge. That's your wake-up call to say, okay, it's time to get back on track because my body's already showing signs of inflammation. And if my nose is inflamed, my heart's inflamed. If my heart's inflamed, I don't want to be that decrepit 60, 80-year-old. So, time to get back on the wagon.
Yeah, it's those, as you get healthier, you actually notice a lot faster. That's what, the correction becomes much quicker because you actually are tuned into your body and your systems and kind of what you feel like as well. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's not normal. You know, that's no longer your new normal.
I'd say, let me add one more thing, Allie. Surrounding yourself with other people that believe in the same thing you do is absolutely critical. I mean, if you're surrounded by people that go to the bars and eat burgers and french fries every day, like you're going to fall off the wagon, and it's going to be a lot longer process to get back on the wagon. Now, luckily, I'm in a functional medicine office, so everyone in the office is kind of on board with our mode of thinking.
Let's hope so.
Yes. And so actually, as an office right now...
Nobody's bringing Tiff's treats?
No. And the drug reps and stuff have tried, and we just throw them away or give them away. Well, we try not to give them away, just throw them away. But so like right now as an office, we're doing a 21-day sugar detox, and so we're on I think day 7 or 8, and it's encouraging because we've all tried to do it independently and kind of failed, and so now we're doing it as kind of a club, and there's money involved. So the stakes are real.
That's awesome. Who's gonna win?
Me, of course. They're going to pay me to do a 21-day sugar detox, and I've already dropped 4 pounds. Like, this is a win, 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 win.
Winning, winning, winning every day. So, this is kind of my big question that I like to ask everybody, is what is kind of the one wellness myth that you wish you could just like, it's 2017, can we please stop talking about this? Because this is dumb and old. Or you don't have to give one, you can give a few. I have like a list of 25.
I guess so I'm sure I've got more, but off the top of my head, I would say there's a lot of thyroid over-treatment in functional medicine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I see a lot of people that kind of claim to be functional medicine providers, or people that are conventional medical, but they're acting like they're trying to get into functional medicine. They start doing the detailed thyroid panels, and if you're fatigued, they just give you thyroid medicine and give you more thyroid medicine, and then the patient doesn't feel any better, because the truth is you feel bad at both high and low hormones. You feel bad at 0 insulin, and you feel bad at high insulin. Same thing with cortisol, thyroid, everything. So giving too much thyroid or giving thyroid to a patient that doesn't really need it is somewhat inappropriate. And people have failed to realize that if your thyroid is off, many of the times it's actually your adrenal glands causing the thyroid dysfunction. Your adrenal glands are the puppeteer for all the other hormones. So if your hormones are off, if your testosterone's low, if your estrogen's high, if your progesterone's deficient, go to the adrenals first. Now, if your thyroid's terribly dysfunctional, I do a lot of thyroid replacement. I don't mean to say that thyroid replacement's bad by any means, but that shouldn't be your first go-to unless you have the labs to say, oh yeah, those are too low. Let's replace it for now while we work on the adrenals, and as you get healthier, we'll actually dial back on your thyroid, maybe even take you off of it.
Oh, I love that. So now we're on to Wildfire Wellness Round. I just like saying it like that. So these
we need a sound.
I know, and like a boo 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 boo. When I get super fancy, somebody will do that
One day.
for me. So these are just basically rapid fire questions. You don't have to answer them rapid fire. There's like short, fun questions.
All right.
So list top 3 wellness, functional medicine people, books, podcasts, kind of your go-to sources that you like to get info for.
Okay. So I'd say Mark Hyman's my idol. His books are great. He's a good guy. He's really fighting the good fight for functional medicine. I like Mark Hyman because he's not just, so he's already a celebrity. Like, he doesn't really need to do much more, but he's still putting good information out there. He's still working on insurance companies to try to get functional medicine covered. Yeah. He's helped start the Cleveland Clinic, which is a functional medicine clinic in a conventional medical hospital. Like, does anybody know? That's impossible, and I never thought would happen. And because we're finally stepping our toe in the water into the conventional medical field, if we can prove that we can do a good job, that's how we can make this successful to everyone. So I really appreciate Mark's just kind of gung-ho. He's going to do it. He's going to do a good job. I say number 2 is Dr. Perlmutter, because he just writes awesome books. So he's a neurologist that does a lot with the gut-brain connection. His dad was a neurologist who actually had dementia, and I'm sure he wishes he could have done a lot of things differently. But Perlmutter's both brilliant and funny.
Yeah.
He's really funny.
Yeah.
So we had the IFM put on, the Institute of Functional Medicine put on their annual conference. It was of brain health. And so Perlmutter was the main one, and he did several lectures, and we laughed so much during his presentation. Learned so much, but laughed. He's a wacky, weird dude, but cool, wacky, nerd style.
Yeah.
Number 3, I don't really have a good number 3, but I was really impressed. Terry Walls was at a recent convention that I went to, and her story is just empowering, and it's so profound, and her examples are so real life. She's down to earth. She just makes things so simple and cut and dry, and she's got a protocol. You follow her protocol, and you can do well, but it's simple. I mean, it's not easy to implement a lifestyle change. I don't mean that, but it's straightforward, and her book is really good. So if anyone's ever not known Terry Walls, she's a medical doctor who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and she was wheelchair, hospital bed bound, like
in the hospital in a wheelchair, and they had to, like, she basically had to just teach because she couldn't really practice anymore.
She couldn't even help. By the most severe, she couldn't even get herself to the bathroom, from what I understand. She had to be transported. And so her story is powerful because she reversed all of that. And all of her symptoms are, well, I should say all of it. She still has a few symptoms left over, but she's walking, talking, and giving presentations. She's amazing to watch.
Yeah, she was riding a bike. Like, that was, there's a really amazing podcast with her that I listened to, and I mean, tears. Like, her story is very inspirational for
And
anybody
cool
that has an autoimmune issue that really, everybody says this cannot be fixed.
Yeah.
You know?
And so her niche is multiple sclerosis, but her autoimmune protocol can work for almost any autoimmune issue. Different ways to skin the cat.
Yeah. Do you have a morning and evening routine?
Wake up, go to work, work all day long, and then come home and go to sleep.
Do you have any other structure on that? You don't have to.
I so desperately want to be one of those people that wake up and exercise, and I brutally fail every time. So I'm an evening / afternoon / after the kids are asleep exerciser, which is not the best, but still works well for me. I'm a kind of when I cook meals, I make mega meals, or like make the messiest kitchen ever, and I put it all into containers. I'm not the best cook, and I don't really like to cook, so I make as many meals as I can, and then I eat off of that, and so that's kind of my routine.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
2 kids. How old are they?
So 2 and 4, about to turn 5.
Whoa.
First day of kindergarten was today.
That's a big day.
Big girl.
That's exciting.
I didn't cry.
You didn't?
I did not.
Did your wife?
Well, we're separated, but no, she didn't cry either.
Okay. Did your daughter?
No, she didn't. I thought that was certainly going to happen. Because she can be shy and bashful. She's been going to another school or daycare, we call it school, but for 3 or 4 years. So I thought it was going to be bad. But no, she did great.
Oh, well, that's fun.
So far. We'll find out at the end of today.
Yeah, I'm sure she did amazing. What is your spirit animal?
I don't have one.
Well, you got to make one up. If you could be an animal, what animal would you be?
A chameleon.
Ooh, we haven't had that one yet. I like it.
I only get that from a patient I saw yesterday who was not willing to give up dairy at all. But her mom allowed her to get a chameleon and that's kind of bribery.
Yeah.
And give her a chameleon. She could finally get this chameleon that she's wanted for 3 years.
If she gave up dairy?
Yeah.
I like it.
She was totally willing to give up dairy and gluten.
I love it.
For a chameleon.
If you could make a t-shirt and make everybody wear it, what would it say?
Can it be hokey?
Yeah,
Say,
of
wellness
course.
is within.
Oh, see? I like it. We're just trying to spread some info. What's your superpower?
Oh, I can work a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can stay up really late, do a lot of work, see a lot of patients. That's my superpower and my weakness. I have adrenal issues, in case you don't know that.
What advice would you give to your 16-year-old self, and what advice would your 90-year-old self give you today?
My 16-year-old self, there's a lot of advice. I grew up on, as many Americans did, I grew up on microwave corn dogs and pizza and French fries and fast food, and I didn't know anything about nutrition. Actually, right around 16 is when I was becoming very self-conscious about being overweight. I got called fat, and I was nicknamed Doughboy in high school.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah. So right around that time, the Sugar Busters book had become popular, and so I did the Sugar Busters diet. I lost 20 pounds around that time. I was still eating poorly, but at least I lost some of the weight, and then by the time med school hit, I hit my peak weight, which was close to 200 pounds. And then, so if I had to give myself 16-year-old advice, it would be eat more vegetables and eat plenty of fat. Just run with that.
Put down the corn dog.
Yes.
So what would your 90-year-old self tell you to do?
He would tell me to take more time off, plan vacation, and stop trying to change the world in the shortest amount of time possible.
Yeah.
Slow down.
That's actually the advice that almost every single person gives to themselves, which is, they would tell me to slow down. But we just want to help so many people. I mean, it's just really hard.
I'm passionate, and I don't want to waste any time. We've only got a limited time on this earth, and there's so many people that are suffering right now that if we just gave them those tools, they would be able to change their life forever.
Yeah.
And that hurts. That hurts me to go to sleep knowing that people are out there still suffering.
Yeah. Well, he's such a good guy. So thank you for being on Wellness Posse Wednesdays. Where can
Thank
the
you
Wellness?
for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Where could the Wellness Posse?
Restricted from planning any events for, I think I'm still on one more month. I can't do anything. My staff has said enough is enough.
Stop the madness.
So you can always find me on Facebook and YouTube. Luckily, my practice has been very busy lately, so I have not been able to do many videos, but I'm trying to plan time off so that I can do more videos and get some of this knowledge out there. But I plan to eventually implement once a month educational seminars or whatnot, because I'm such a passionate believer, and if we can just educate people, they can change their own lives. Now, some people are complicated and need more help. I'd say the next stages of what I'm going to be doing is I've got a kitchen in my office space.
Ooh.
And so it's not actually got a stove or anything yet, but we're going to get one. And so we want to do cooking classes and teach people how to cook, because nutrition is the foundation of anything and everything. So, but if you don't know how to cook, healthy food tastes like crap if you don't know how to cook it right, or if you don't even know what you're doing. And so no one can stick to a plan. We love food. We're human. We're American. Food is love. And so if you can't enjoy your food, then you're going to fall off the wagon more and maybe not even get back on the wagon. So we want to institute cooking classes. And then the next phase of our practice is we have a gym with workout equipment, and we want to start kind of personal training for people and really have everything under one roof.
One-stop shop.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. It's
Thanks.
wonderful. It's so great to have you on today. Thank you, Wellness Posse. I will see you next week. And actually, I'm going to do a video on his channel coming up soon. So I'll let you know when that happens. Thank y'all. We'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye.
Next year.
Next year.
Next week. Bye.